As the rain comes down, I let myself imagine a story for us, the one I would write if I could. The two of them forget about the rising and stay alone in the township. They walk through the empty buildings. They planted seeds in the spring and harvested in the fall. They put their feet in the stream. They had their fill of poetry. They whisper words to each other that echo off the empty canyon walls. Their lips and hands touch whenever they wanted, for as long as they wanted. But even in my vision of what should happen, I can't change who we are, and the fact that there are others we love. It didn't take long for other people to appear in their minds. Bram watched them with sad, waiting eyes. Eli appeared. Their parents walked past, turning their heads for a glimpse of the children they loved, and Xander was there too. Back inside the cave, Eli is awake, searching through the papers with Indy. "We can't look forever," he says. His voice sounds panicked. "The society's going to find us." "Just a little longer," Cassia says. "I'm certain there's something here." Indy puts down the book she held and lifts her pack to her shoulders. "I'm going down," she says. "I'll look in the houses again, see if there's anything we missed." Her eyes meet mine on her way out of the cave, and I know Cassia notices. "Do you think they've caught Hunter?" Eli asks. "No," I say. "I think Hunter will finish things on his terms somehow." Eli shivers. The cavern, it felt all wrong. "I know," I say. Eli rubs his eyes with the heels of his hand and reaches for another book. "You should rest more, Eli," I tell him. We'll keep looking. Eli stares up at the walls around us. "I wonder why they didn't paint anything in here," he says. "Eli," I say, more firmly, "rest." He rolls himself back up in a blanket, this time in a corner of the library cave, to be near us. Cassia is careful to keep the light of the flashlight away from him. She has twisted her hair back out of the way, and her eyes look shadowed with exhaustion. "You should rest too," I say. "Something is here," she says. "I have to find it." She smiles at me. "I felt the same way when I was looking for you. Sometimes I think I'm the strongest when I'm searching." It is true, she is. I love that about her. It's why I had to lie to her about Xander's secret. If I hadn't, she wouldn't have stopped trying to find out what it was. I stand up. "I'm going to help Indy," I tell Cassia. "It's time to find out what Indy is hiding." "All right," Cassia says. She lifts her hand from the book and lets the page she was reading become lost and unmarked. "Be careful." "I will," I say. "I'll be back soon." Indy's not hard to find. Flickering light in one of the houses below gives her away, as she knew it would. I make my way down the cliff path, which has grown slippery with rain. When I get to the house, I look in the window first. The glass pane is wavy with age and water, but I can see Indy inside. The flashlight sits next to her, and in her hands she holds something else that gives off light. A mini port. She hears me coming. I knock the port out of her hand, but my fingers don't close around it in time. The port hits the ground but doesn't break. Indy sighs in relief. "Go ahead," she says. "Look at it if you want." She keeps her voice low. In it, I hear the sound of wanting something very much. Underneath it, I hear the sound of river in the canyon. Indy reaches out and puts her hand on my arm. It's the first time I've ever seen her willingly touch someone, and it stops me from smashing the mini port against the floorboards. I look at the screen and a familiar face looks back. "Xander," I say in surprise. "You have a picture of Xander, but how?" It only takes me a moment to realize what happened. You stole Cassia's microcard. That's what she helped me hide in the airship, Indy says without a trace of guilt. She didn't know I hid it in with her tablets. I keep it until she had a way to see what it was on it. She reached over and switches the port back off. Is this what you found in the library cave? I ask her. A mini port? She shakes her head. I stole this before we came into the canyons. How? I took it from the leader of the boys in the village the night before we ran. He should have been more careful. All aberrations know how to steal. Not all, Indy, I think. Only some of us. Do they know where we are? I asked. Does it transmit location? Vic and I were never sure what a mini port could do. She shrugs. I don't think so. This society's coming away anyway, after what happened in the cavern. But the mini port isn't what I want to show you. I was only passing time until you came. I start to say something about how she shouldn't have stolen from Cassia, but Indy reaches into her pack and pulls out a folded square of thin fabric. Canvas. This is what you need to see. She unfolds the material. It's a map. I think it's a way to the rising, she says. Look. The words on the map are echoed, but the landscape is familiar. The edges of the cat carving in the plain beyond. Instead of showing the mountains where the farmers went, it shows more of the stream where Vic died, which runs across the plain and down the map. The stream ends in a blacky, inky darkness that has white-coated words written across it. I think that's the ocean, Indy says, touching the blank space on the map, and those words mark an island. Why didn't you give it to Cassia? I asked. She's a sorter. I wanted to give it to you, Indy says, because of who you are. What is that? What do you mean? I ask. She shakes her head impatiently. I know you can break code. I know you can sort. Indy's right, I can sort. Already I figured out what the white words say. Turn again home. It's from the Tyson poem. It's the rising territory. Home, they've called it. And the way it gets to it by following the stream where the society drop was in and Vic died. How do you know I can sort? I asked Indy, putting down my map and pretending I haven't decoded it yet. I've been listening, she says, and then she leans forward, with the two of us sitting in the glow of the flashlight. It seems like the rest of the world has gone blank and I'm left alone with her and what she thinks of me. I know who you are, she leans even closer, and who you're supposed to be. Who I'm supposed to be, I ask her. I don't lean any way. She smiles. The pilot, she says. I laugh and sit back. No. What about the poem you told Cassia that talks about the women being the pilot? It's not a poem, Indy says fiercely. A song, I say, realizing. The words used to have music behind them. I should have known. Indy exhales in frustration. It doesn't matter how the pilot comes of if it's a woman or a man. The idea is the same. I understand that now. I'm still not the pilot. You are, she says. You don't want to be, but you're running away from the rising. Someone needs to bring you back to the rebellion. That's what I'm trying to do. The rising isn't what you imagine, I say. It's not aberrations and anomalies, rebels and rogues running free. It's structure, a system. She shrugs. Whatever it is, I want to be part of it. I've been thinking about it my whole life. If you think this will take us to the rising, why give it to me? I asked Indy, holding up the map. Why not give it right to Cassia? We're the same, she whispers. You and me. We're more alike than you and Cassia. We could leave right now. She's right. I do see myself in Indy. I feel a pity so deep for her that it might be something else entirely. Empathy. You have to believe something to survive. She picked the rising. I chose Cassia. Indy's right. Indy's been quiet for a long time, hiding, running, on the move. I put my hand next to hers. I don't touch her fingers, but she can see the marks on them. I have scars from living here. The first time that no citizen in society would have. She looks at my hand. How long? She asks. How long what? How long have you been in aberration? Since I was a child, I say. I was 3 years old when they reclassified us. And who caused it? I didn't want to answer. but I didn't tell we are on the edge. It's as though she holds the wall of the canyon, and if I move wrong she will look over her shoulder, let go, and take her chance with the fall. I have to give a little piece of my story. My father, I say. We were citizens in the society. We lived in the border province, and the society accused him of having ties with the rebellion and sent us to the outer province. Was he a rebel? She asked. Yes, I say. And then when we moved to the outer province, he convinced our village to join him. Almost everyone did. You still love him though, she says. I'm on the edge with her now. She knows it. I have to tell the truth. I'm going to keep her hanging on. Take a deep breath. Of course I do, I say. Her hand rests on the ground next to me against the splintered floorboards. The rain outside the windows falls in gold and silver dashes as the beam of my flashlight. Without thinking, I touch her fingers gently. Andy, I told her, I'm not the pilot. She shakes her head. She doesn't believe me. Just read the map, she tells me. Then you'll know everything. No, I say. I don't know everything. I won't know your story. It's the cruel thing to do because when someone knows your story, they know you. They can't hurt you. They can hurt you. It's why I give mine away in pieces, even to Cassia. If I'm going to go with you, I have to know about you. I'm lying. I won't go with her to the Rising no matter what. Does she know that? It all started when you ran, I say, encouraging her. She looks at me, deciding. Suddenly, even though she is so sharp-edged, I want to reach out and hold her close. Not the way I hold Cassia, just as someone who also knows what it means to be an aberration. It all started when I ran, she says. I lean closer to listen. Andy speaks more softly than usual as she remembers. I wanted to escape the work camp. When they dragged me back to the airship, I thought I lost my chance to get away. I knew we'd die in the outer province. Then I saw Cassia on the ship. She didn't belong there, or in the camp either. I'd been through her things and know that she wasn't an aberration. So why did she sneak on board the ship? What did she think she could find? Indy looks straight in my eyes while she talks, and I can see she tells the truth. For the first time, she's completely open. She's beautiful when she's not holding back. Later in the village, I hear Cassia talking about the boy, about the pilot, about you. She wanted to follow you. And that's when I first thought you might be the pilot. I thought Cassia knew you were the pilot, and that she was keeping it a secret from me. She laughs. Later I realized she wasn't lying to me. She hadn't told me that you were the pilot because she hadn't realized it herself. She's right, I say. I'm not. Andy shakes her head dismissively. Fine. But what about the red tablet? What do you mean? It doesn't work on you, does it? She asks. I don't answer, but she knows. It doesn't work on me either, she says, and I bet it didn't work on Alexander. She doesn't wait for me to confirm or deny. I think some of us are special. The Rising has chosen us somehow. Why else would we be immune? Her voice is eager, and again I know how she feels. To go from discarded to chosen, it's what all aberrations want. If we are, the Rising didn't do anything to save us when the society sent us out here, I remind her. She looks at me scornfully. Why should they? She says. If we can't find our own way to them, we shouldn't be a part of the rebellion. She lifts her chin. I can't tell exactly what the map says, but I know it tells me how to get to the Rising. It's like my mother said it would be. The black spot is the ocean, and the words are, it's an island. We just have to get there. I found the map, not Cassia. You're jealous of her, I say. That's why you let her take the blue tablet. No, Indy sounds surprised. I didn't see her take it. I would have stopped her. I didn't want her to die. You're willing to leave her here, and Eli. It's not the same thing, Indy says. The society will find her and take her back where she belongs. She'll be fine. Eli, too. He's so young. It must have been a mistake that he ended up out here. And what if it's not, I ask. She sends me a long searching look. I You've left people and run away. Don't act like you don't understand. I'm not going to leave her, I say. I didn't think you would, Indy says. But she's not defeated. It's partly why I gave you the scrap of Alexander's secret, to remind you, if it came to this. Remind me of what, Indy smiles, that you're going to be part of the Rising, one way or another. You don't want to run and come with me, fine, but you're still going to be part of the Rising no matter what. She reaches for the mini port and I let her take it. You'll join because you want Cassia, and that's what she wants to do. I shake my head no. Don't you think it would be better for you to be part of the Rising, Indy says bluntly. The leader, even. Otherwise, why would she choose you when she could have Xander? Why would Cassia choose me? Predicted occupation, nutrition disposal worker. Decoy villager. Predicted chance of success, not applicable to aberrations. Predictable lifespan, 17. Sent to die in the Outer Providence. Cassia would argue that she doesn't see me the way the society sees me. She says their lists don't matter. And to her, it doesn't. That's part of why I love her. But I don't think she would choose me if she knew Xander's secret. Indy gave me a scrap because she wanted to play on my insecurities about Cassia and Xander. But that secret means even more than Indy guesses. Something must show in my face and the truth of what Indy says. Her eyes widen and I can almost see her thoughts settling into place. My reluctance to join the Rising, Xander's face on the microcard, Indy's own obsession with him, and finding the rebellion. In a whirling, disminded kaleidoscope of Indy's bright, particular mind, these pieces make me a picture and show her the truth. That's it, she says, her voice starting. You can't let her go to the Rising without you, or you might lose her. She smiles, because that's the secret. Xander's part of the Rising. It was a week before the match banquet. They found me walking home and said, aren't you tired of losing? Wouldn't you like to win? Wouldn't you like to join us? With us you could win. I told them no. I said I don't see how they lost, and I'd rather lose my own way. Xander found me the next evening. I was out in the front of the yard planting new roses for Patrick and Ada's flower bed. He stood next to me and smiled and acted as though we were talking about something common and everyday. Did you join? He asked. Join what? I asked Xander. I wiped the sweat from my face. Back then, I liked digging. I had no idea how much I'd have to do later. Xander bent down and pretended to help me. The rebellion, he said quietly. Against the society, someone approached me this week. You're part of it too, aren't you? No, I tell Xander. His eyes widened. I thought you would be. I was sure you'd do it. I shook my head. I thought we'd both be in it, he said. His voice sounded strange, confused. I hadn't heard Xander sound that way. I thought you probably know all about it all along, he paused. Do you think they'd ask her too? We both knew who he meant. Cassia, of course. I don't know, I told Xander. It seems probable. They asked us. They must have a list of people to approach in the borough. What happens to people who say no? Xander asks me. Did they give you a red tablet? No, I say. Maybe they don't have access to red tablets, Xander says. I work at a medical center, and I don't even know where the society keeps the red ones. It's somewhere away from the blue and green. Or it might be that the rebellion only asks people to join who won't turn them in, I say. How could they know that? Some of them are still in society, I remind him. They have our data. They can try and predict what we'll do. I pause. And they're right. You won't turn them in because you joined. You won't turn them in because I didn't. And because I'm an aberration, I thought, but I didn't say. The last thing I wanted to do was draw attention to myself, especially when it's about to report about the rebellion. Why didn't you join? Xander asked. There wasn't any mockery in his tone, only wanted to know. For the first time since I'd known him, I saw something like fear in his eyes. Because I don't believe in it, I told him. Xander and I were never sure if the rebellion had approached Cassia. We didn't know if she'd taken a red tablet. We couldn't ask her either question about putting her in danger. Later, when I saw her reading those 2 poems in the forest, I thought maybe I made the wrong choice. I thought she had the Tyson poem because it was the rising poem, and I'd missed my chance to be in the rebellion with her. But then I found out about the poem she truly loved and the other one. She chose her own way. I felt even more deeply in love with her. Do you really want to join the rising? I asked Indy. Yes. Indy says yes. No, I tell her. You want it now. You might be happy there for a few months, a few years, but it's not you. You don't know me, she says. Yes, I do, I say, leaning forward, fast and close to touch her hand again. She holds her breath. Forget all about this, I say. We don't need the rising. The farmers are out there. We're all go together, me, you, Cassia, and Eli, somewhere new. What happened to the girl who wanted to leave and lose sight of the shore? I grasp her hand tight and hold on. Indy looks up, face stunned. When Cassia told me Indy's story, I realized what happened. Indy told the version about her mother in the boat and the water so many times that she began to believe it too. But now she remembers what she's trying to forget, that it wasn't about her mother, it was about her. After hearing her mother's song all her life, Indy built the boat and caused her own reclassification. She failed to find the rising. She never even lost sight of the shore, and eventually the society sent her away from the ocean to die in the desert. I know it happened that way because I know Indy. She's not the kind of person to watch someone else build a boat and set sail without her. Indy wants to find the rising so badly she can't see anything else. Certainly not me, even worse than she thought I was. I'm sorry, Indy, I say. I feel so sorry. I ache all over, but with how sorry I am for what I'm about to do. The rising can't save any of us. I've seen what happens when you join them. I strike a match at the edge of the map. Indy cries out, but I hold her off. The fire licks the edge of the fabric. No, Indy cries, touching and snatching the map again. I punch her away. I push her away. She looks around, but we both left our canteens back in the cave. No, Indy cries again. She pushes past me out the door. I don't try to stop her. Whatever she tries to do catches the rain to go to the river for water will take too long. The map is good as gone. The air fills again and the scent of burning.